The Titanic lies at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But a century ago, she stood as the biggest, most expensive luxury ship the world had ever seen. And she was built by hand. Today, this team is bringing her back to life.
Hit that. Stop.
Their mission: rebuild iconic sections of the world's most famous ship.
The Titanic's anchor has come back to life.
Using original methods from 100 years ago.
It's almost like, I don't want to do this. It's too scary.
Walking in the footsteps of the engineers who powered everything from her deck lights to the gym equipment. They pay tribute to the men and women who built Titanic.
We're creating exhibits for a museum. We've got everything from...
The reconstruction team has ambitious plans to recreate one of Titanic's grandest spaces and one of her humblest cabins. They'll struggle to master artisan crafts all but extinct today. And unravel a Titanic mystery.
Ah, look at that.
That baffled Hollywood.
Right, if you go through grey, it just doesn't look right.
The team has the raw skills they need. Brendan Walker is a former aerospace engineer. Yuwande Akinola is a design engineer.
Yay.
Dave Wilkes is a steel worker. And Luke Perry is a traditional metal worker. The team's mission begins here, at London's exclusive Reform Club.
Look at the size.
How do you have Ralph live?
Absolutely massive.
Before starting work on Titanic's interiors, her original designers visit top hotels and private clubs like this one for inspiration.
Apparently there's 1,000 glass lozenges up there, and each one's individual. That's craftsmanship, isn't it?
Unchanged in over 100 years, these interiors showcase the best craftsmanship of the industrial era.
Oh, wow.
Amazing scene.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you think of all the famous people who have been in this place and places like this, but the person I would really love to meet are the guys who've done all this. Yeah. Shake hands with a craftsman,
White Star Line, the owners of Titanic, want to attract an influential and upscale clientele.
It's the Titanic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they recreate the luxury and comfort of prestigious clubs like this one on board the ship.
To make them feel at home on a ship, they've got to make something like this, a humongous marble fireplace. I mean, think of the weight of that. Just getting that into a ship, for God's sake. That's a statement in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Titanic's first-class accommodations boast a lavish grand central staircase, a fine dining room, a gymnasium, and a renowned gentleman-only smoking lounge. Richly appointed with mahogany-paneled walls, stained glass windows, a working marble fireplace, and luxurious leather chairs, the smoking lounge is reputedly the most expensive room on the ship. The team's challenge is to rebuild the central section of this exclusive room, and in contrast, a much simpler third-class cabin. If they can pull it off, both will be unveiled during a Titanic evening at the Ulster Museum in Belfast, Northern Ireland, the proud city where Titanic is born and where her legacy lives on. Helping them get acquainted with the craftsman's tools of the day is master carpenter Mark Cass.
I'm Mark. Right, Dave. Good man. Most ambitious part of it is the fact that we're doing it all by hand tools, but therein lies its charm, because everything's not just bang, flat, featureless. Everything has a slight... There's the evidence of the hand on all the work, but that makes it look great.
Few plans of Titanic's interiors survive. The only visual reference they have for the first-class smoking room are these photographs, taken on board Titanic's nearly identical sister ship, Olympic. It's not much to go on.
We can have a go at reproducing this entire wall, all right?
Right.
And I don't gasp, right? There's a ton of work in here. All the pictures are black and white. Obviously got this whopping big fireplace.
You know, everything was quite heavy.
It was kind of gloomy, yeah, and certainly these will be backlit, the stained glass.
If we concentrate on some of the bigger features, the stained glass window, the detailing across the top, the picture frame, the furniture, the flooring, I mean, that in itself is an awful lot of work.
It's a load of work, Brendan.
But bringing all that together is obviously going to make, when we bring it all together in this big set, it's going to make the whole thing sing out.
You'll feel like you were there.
Unless we start to learn very quickly the subtleties of the task, it's going to look a bit embarrassing, because this is an exhibition in a museum about the quality of the workmanship of Edwardian times, but it's all about tools, and it's about paying attention to what they're doing, because there's nothing automatic about them.
Much of the work on Titanic's interiors begins in June 1911 at Harland and Wolff's Fitting Out Wharf in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Following hundreds of hand-drawn designs, carpenters and painters work tirelessly to create a new standard of luxury throughout the ship. Brendan and Yuande's first task is to produce full-scale drawings of Titanic's first-class gentleman's smoking lounge, starting with the marble fireplace.
A little bit taut, more taut.
It's going up. Whew.
Look at the scale of that.
This is very, very impressive. This is huge.
You can go and have a little lean against the hearth there.
Exactly.
I have my cigar. Toss my brandy.
Every element in the smoking room is designed to create an exclusive and luxurious atmosphere. But trips on the Titanic don't come cheap. A one-way first-class crossing costs over $2,000, or the equivalent of $50,000 today. To find out what they got for their money, Luke visits Worcester Archives in the heart of England to read a letter written by first-class passenger Frank Millet.
Something that interests me particularly is that he writes about the smoking room as being this refuge where he can get away from the rest of the passengers, and specifically women. There's a number of obnoxious, ostentatious American women, the scourge of any place that they infest, and worse on shipboard than anywhere else. Many of them carry tiny dogs and lead their husbands round like pet lambs. That's a sort of delicious thought, isn't it, really?
The level of luxury Millet enjoys from the comfort of his leather chair in Titanic's first-class smoking lounge is created by the artisan skills of ordinary men and women.
Right, we're going to make some chairs.
To follow in the footsteps of his fellow craftsmen, Dave will try to make an iconic leather chair by hand.
Go for it.
Creating the Rolls-Royce of armchairs requires a range of highly skilled crafts. First, simple pieces of beech are meticulously planed and drilled by hand.
Hell of a skill, wasn't it? You're just drilling a bloody hole. I did use these when I was at school, but I was crap at woodwork then. How many chairs was there on the Titanic?
No.
And the Olympic? And there's some guys are doing this all day long.
Punishment duty, that is, isn't it?
Mark, gone. Get a drill over, will you? That power drill.
Harland and Wolff, the shipbuilders who built Titanic, employ a team of carpenters to outfit her luxurious interiors. Their skills rank them among the best-paid tradesmen on the docks. After carving and drilling all the wooden parts for the chair, it's time for the rest of the gang to help Dave assemble the pieces into a frame.
What sort of stuff is that? And this is Scotch glue. This is it's a hot glue derived from like boiled up animals. It's,
Really?
Yeah, hoof, horn, and hide. Okay.
And this is an old recipe, obviously.
It's been going for like hundreds of years.
Oh,
It's lovely.
he smells like my dog when he's been out running in the rain.
The glue hardens as soon as it cools, so everyone will have to work as fast as possible to assemble the chair.
The military operation, we want to get it done in 2 minutes or less. Right? Start scorching.
The wood is heated to stop the glue from setting too soon.
Got to slobber it on. More.
Just keep it steady.
Right, front rail.
Go, front.
We got the front.
Right, clamp on, move the peg. Start tightening her up.
You need to...
The clock is ticking as they add the clamps.
Right, that's it. Second one on. Get the clamp up. Where's the clamp? Brendan.
Yeah, I've done that, yeah.
Is it trapped?
Yeah, just hang back off just a little bit there. We're
Okay.
underneath, just a tiny bit.
Sorry.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay,
We're in. Tighten it to the max, Dave. Give it
And
everything.
keep going.
That's it. Looking good to me.
Yeah.
Well done, team.
Tell you what, it looks like a chair.
It does look like a chair.
I shouldn't be surprised, but it's great.
It takes Dave the whole day just to make the bare bones of his Titanic chair. And there are many more skills to master.
I'd never attempt to do anything like this in my life, you know. It's a bit too ambitious for me, especially woodwork. I could have made you one out of lump metal, but it wouldn't look the same, I don't think. I am really looking forward to seeing it all in its final glory.
Brendan and Yewande are working on their ambitious plans for the first-class smoking room exhibit. Their only design references are original but colorless photographs.
How about the columns? Let's do the columns. It looks way bigger than I imagined it would do. I almost feel like I want to check a few scales of this.
Dimensions, yeah.
This is like living as if I'm only 3 foot tall. It feels a bit too big. It's a full-scale drawing. It's only black and white at the moment, but it's just amazing to get a sense of space that we're inside.
To find out more about the smoking room's design, Brendan visits the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. He meets with Professor Anne Massey,
Hello, Anne.
an expert on the design of transatlantic liners.
For the Olympic, Titanic and Britannic, there was a decorating firm called Aldham Heaton that was in charge of the overall look of the interiors. What would normally happen, I think, is they would go through various catalogues and look at the kind of historical styles, what they were trying to recreate. So we get fireplaces from different eras. It's almost like a floating theme park or a sort of pleasure palace where we get different rooms relating to different eras. But you'd have one room was Louis XV, the next Baroque, you would have Dutch.
I've been tasked with building a bit of the smoking room.
I mean, it is very, very opulent. Probably the most expensive space on the ship.
But what kind of colours? I mean, we kind of have no colour reference at all.
Don't forget it was a masculine space. I think
Very
there's a
heavy
link.
kind of colours.
Yeah, to sort of hide the nicotine stains.
The color of Titanic's smoking room is the real mystery to solve. Dave heads to Belfast Docks, where Titanic is built, to look for clues. He's been granted exclusive access to the former offices of Harlan and Wolff, where the vision for Titanic is conceived. Rumor has it the company used leftover materials from Titanic and her sister ships to furnish their grand offices.
So this would be the centre of everything, is Harlan and Wolff with building their ships, with people getting drawings and ordering material and everything else. It's absolutely amazing.
These deserted offices will soon be restored to their original grandeur for a luxury hotel. But Dave's more interested in the raw history that may lie beneath his feet.
Oh, wow, look at this. This is what we've been looking for, isn't it? This is the tiles that I've got here in these photos. We have a look under here. We might be able to find something that ain't damaged. Well, I don't know. I think we're going to have a hell of a job getting these up in whole, but
After a century, the color of the tile has worn away.
it's very, very delicate, extremely delicate. It's a bit like touching history. It's a bit like touching part of the Titanic to know that these are the same type of tiles that they use. I just hope I do it credit.
but they could provide vital clues for solving the mystery of the smoking room's color scheme.
Ah, look at that. Amazing. Just hope I don't drop it as I'm walking out there.
Back at the workshop, Brendan also does some detective work, studying these remarkable color photographs of Titanic's wreck site. The answer to the mystery of the smoking room's color scheme may actually lie at the bottom of the ocean.
You know those tiles you brought back from Harland Wolff? Yeah. Well, you know, they didn't have any colour on them. Well, I've actually found some information. What we have got from a recent dive down to the wreck of Titanic, we've got these photographs which show us some of the colours.
Yeah.
This tile, you can clearly see that the outside is actually red, so you can see colour on this photograph. It's very clear.
They're in better condition than the ones that I went to get. I can't believe it.
Records show that the tiles and chairs in the first-class smoking room of Titanic's sister ship, Olympic, are green. James Cameron copies this green scheme for the smoking room in his famous film, Titanic. But that is shot before these revealing color photographs are taken. Looking at the evidence, Brendan and Dave now think Titanic's color scheme is probably red.
Let's say this is your chair that you're making here, the flooring. This colour, the red here, is for fair, you know, match to the tile.
Yeah.
But, you know, it just doesn't look right if you go through green.
No, I wouldn't have.
All those different colours, blues, purple, you know, that red really is...
The red, to me, with the colour of these tiles, looks perfect.
Yeah. If you went for a red leather to go with the tiles, I think that'll tie in really well with the overall colour scheme.
I think we've set it right off.
Yeah.
Now that Dave knows the leather for his chair should be red, he heads to Clayton's Tannery in northern England. One of just a handful of traditional tanneries that still exist.
Hello, Ian. I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave. How you going?
How you doing, mate? Apparently, you've been lumbered with me today, and
Helping Dave prepare the leather is foreman Ian Weatherall.
for what's that cat on there?
Yeah, it's cow dung.
Stroof.
Each piece of luxury leather initially looks like this.
So you can tell a decent skin just by experience.
Yeah, if you open it out, have a look. Something that's like no holes, not too heavy, not
Really?
Not stale and hard.
Yeah.
If you have a look, it's not too thick. It's nice and supple.
So this would be sort of ideal for sort of like a chair covering. What we're looking for.
Not be too bad.
The hides are soaked in a lime solution for 4 days, then given a shave.
Pull it on here, and we'll take what's left of the hair.
Right.
It's quite a heavy, smelly
great job, isn't it?
Leg on one side, leg on the other.
And this is exactly as they would have been doing it like 100 years ago. What do you reckon, mate?
Natural.
It must be the old Sweeney Todd apron I've got on.
At the time of Titanic, this is one of the world's filthiest jobs. A century later, little has changed.
I've got to ask you, what is all this crap in here?
That is all the flesh and trimmings that we don't use. That bit there, you can see where the rats have eaten the fat.
Really?
It does smell a bit.
Oh.
The traditional tanning process requires hides to soak for several weeks to strengthen and preserve them.
I can smell the aroma coming up from here.
This is the strong bit,
Yeah.
which is ready for coming out now onto these pallets.
So this is all ready?
This liquid is called tanning liquor. Today, it's made from water and wood.
Sort of 100 years ago, was it the same process or?
No, it was traditionally dog muck.
What, dog?
Yep. The tanners used to employ certain people to go around the streets at night picking up the dog, and that'd become into tanning.
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do that now, actually.
Save us a lot of money if we did.
So now you can see it's starting to look like leather, isn't it? You know, as you would expect it to be.
I think this is the most important job because you're taking dirty hide and you turn it into a beautiful piece of leather.
Yeah.
That's sold all over the world.
Yeah. I kept thinking of these people sitting on the Titanic in luxury with all these lovely sofas and armchairs. And I don't suppose they ever once give a thought for guys like what Ian's doing now, working their guts out in the freezing cold or boiling up, whichever it may be. I mean, so much respect for them. Unbelievable.
The designers of Titanic's first-class smoking room develop a luxury interior to disguise the ship's raw metal structure. Wooden panels cover up engine casings and ventilation shafts. and large stained glass windows are lit from behind to create an illusion of sunlight streaming in from outside. Yawande's job is to make 2 of the stained glass windows using traditional methods. This is English Antique Glass, the only company in the United Kingdom that still makes flat glass in the traditional way. That makes Walter Tinches one of the last master glassblowers.
These are some of the glasses, flat glass we do make. This is a streaky seedy. As you can see, all the streaks of purple in it with all the little blisters is classed as seed.
It's beautiful. It's extremely beautiful.
To create the streaked effect, molten glass is dipped in shards of colored glass, then put back in the furnace to melt.
Don't be in too much hurry. Turn it slowly, turn it too fast, slow it down. Twist it.
It's like it's going to drop off. It's really hard.
During Titanic's time, glass blowers are highly paid craftsmen, but their working conditions are tough. Glass works are hot, dry, and smoky places, and the men traditionally drink vast amounts of beer to rehydrate themselves. As a result, many die prematurely from liver disease.
Go over to the blocks. Keeping it straight. Okay, stop. Now this is the tricky bit.
This complex process takes speed, strength, and concentration, and is far more challenging than the highly automated methods used today.
Steady. Spin on the back of the iron. Spin. Spin. Spin out to Mike. Oh there.
Yeah.
Nearly there.
And with the glass costing more than $130 per square yard, mistakes are costly.
Never mind. Now it went a bit cold. Fair enough. All right, don't worry.
Luckily, the main cylinder of the glass is still intact, and there's still just enough to work with.
Use this rod to get it as open as possible.
Right. Stretch
Open
it out,
out,
yeah.
and then you just go in with this block of wood.
Oh, and flatten it out.
It takes a day and a half to make a single piece of flat glass.
It's not perfect, but it looks great because it's got different things going on. The more I learn of these crafts, the more I want to make sure our museum exhibit is a perfect tribute to the craftsmen of 100 years ago.
Back at the tannery, Dave is using a traditional recipe to dye the leather red for his smoking room chair.
There's something definitely going on inside this bucket, that's for sure. A chemical meringue.
That's probably right, yeah.
Helping him is finishing manager Steve Reynolds.
Once you start padding this, basically, you're committed, you have to do it.
Right.
Padding is a technique for applying dye to the leather.
Quite satisfying, really.
Oh, yeah.
If you go over it too much in one spot, you can feel it start to bind. It sticks,
That's
doesn't it?
right, yeah. Now, just take off that streak that's
Oh, right,
there.
yeah, I see you.
We're not doing too bad here, but they would do about 10 or 12 an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
So I better get me backside in gear, eh?
That's
if I want to keep this job.
Yeah, at the moment you owe us money. We're just going to throw this in.
Go around the other side and pull
If
it
you
through,
would,
yeah?
please, Dave.
The next step is to emboss the leather.
This is very similar to what we think was on the Titanic.
The pattern stamped on Titanic's first-class smoking room chairs remains a mystery. So Dave decides to go with a paisley pattern used on the leather chairs of her sister ship Olympic, since many other patterns and designs on the 2 ships were identical.
Well, that's all right,
That's not bad, yeah.
And it does, like you say, blends in quite nicely, doesn't it? I was a little bit apprehensive about overlapping the pattern and getting, you know, sort of a bit of a mixture and a bit of a mishmash. But it blends in quite nicely, yeah, I'm well pleased with it, yeah. I've done everything on these hides apart from go out in the field with a lasso and grab hold of it and bring it down and slit its throat and gut it.
It takes more than 100 man-hours just to make the frame and prepare the leather for one luxurious chair. Upholstering it is Dave's next big challenge.
That's the bit I'm really looking forward to. Seeing it from a dead skin on the floor to something that's going to be really nice and flash. So someone with a lot of dosh in their pocket can get their brandy and their cigar out and sit their big fat arse on it and not appreciate what I've done.
Reconstructing even a small section of Titanic's first-class smoking room is proving to be a huge task. So Brendan meets with film set designer Dave Allen.
I think we're going to need some help putting this together.
Yeah.
In 1911, White Star Line gives shipbuilder Harlan & Wolff a blank check to outfit Titanic's interiors. But lacking unlimited funds, the reconstruction team is going to have to think a little more creatively.
At this time, they used many different techniques to deceive the eye, in a way, as to what the material was. I would hazard a guess that these possibly other items on here were cast in plaster. Once you've got one carved item, you can make a mould. Once you've got the mould, you can make as many as you wish.
So that's a real kind of smoke and mirrors.
There's a great deal of illusion about it.
Fantastic. Here in the centre of the room, we've got a marble fireplace.
Yeah.
It's a massive piece of marble. You know, it's
huge.
way over 2 metres wide.
Yeah.
And it's got to cost tens of thousands of pounds. We need to recreate this, but obviously not as expensive. I mean, are there ways we can do that?
Yes, absolutely. I think probably what we're looking at here is to make it from timber, use timber mouldings, and then have it marbled.
Marbled?
Yeah.
Is that a technique, is it?
It's a technique. We get the scenic artist in. It'll have scale, it'll have grandeur, it will have the real essence of the original.
Yeah, I can't wait to be next to this fireplace now.
It's going to look good.
Great.
The rush to complete the build is on, and the cavalry arrives to help Dave finish his leather chair.
You must be Dave.
Hello, mate. Nice to meet you. You must be Roy.
Roy Theobald has been in upholstery for 40 years and served as an apprentice making furniture for ships.
Which you don't see many of these. These are from my dad's.
A century ago, upholsterers are well paid and highly respected among their fellow craftsmen.
Now, the problem is this, if you're an upholsterer in 1912...
Right.
You wouldn't be wearing that. He was the only craftsman to ride to work on a horse.
Really? So you would have been like the gentleman?
You would have been walking, you see.
Well, that's okay, shoveling up the hill behind you.
100 years ago, upholstery is big business. Around 50 upholsterers like these are employed at Harlan & Wolff to work on Titanic's furniture. They work on tight deadlines, furnishing a lounge chair by hand in just 8 hours.
We use these tacks.
Keeping tacks in their mouths is one of the tricks of the trade.
Have you ever swallowed one?
I did. I was singing and I shoved them in my mouth and I never saw the tack again. And I put this hessian on, then the coconut fibre, then the horsehair.
And then you've got the webbing, which actually takes the strain of everything.
Right. Oh, yes. Gently, 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 gently. Whoops. Take it out. It's crooked. We don't want any bent tacks. That's it.
The next step is to stuff the chair with plenty of horsehair.
This is from the mane and the tail of the horse. This is Rolls-Royce, good quality horsehair. This is the best you can get.
Harlan & Wolff imported 10 tons of horsehair every month for its luxurious upholstery.
I'm just marrying the two together so that it makes a nice shape. That's it, look at that. Lovely, look. This is the comfort of the chair, isn't it? You get this chair, horsehair, hand sprung, stuffed and stitched, beechwood frame, corner blocks, glued, screwed, jointed, linen hessian, all stuffed and stitched properly. It's going to last you 60 to 70 years. Right, so that's 22 to there.
The crowning glory is covering the chair with the handmade leather.
I'm pulling it forward, look, like that.
Right.
We've got it set at the back now. Highly skilled. It is, isn't it?
Too true.
You've got to work at it. It takes a long time. You've got to keep working at it. You can't rush quality.
It takes more than 130 hours of skilled labor from 3 separate craft industries to make Titanic's smoking room chair.
It was incredible. And all these guys come together for one small element of the smoking room, which was a chair. All this work that goes into it, and it makes you realise the whole scale of everything else that went on within that ship.
With just 2 weeks until the team unveils their Titanic smoking room exhibit, creating the stained glass windows is their next challenge.
What about using this for the gourd?
Yewande works on the design of the window with glass artist Emma Blunt.
When you're doing stained glass, you've got to think jewellery, shininess, and lots of different colours next to each other.
She's copying a design from photographs of stained glass windows on Olympic, Titanic's sister ship. Yewande's first job is to make the gourd in the center of the picture.
Along the line, just do an easy bit, just do that a little bit. Okay. Even pressure, even speed. Now come off. Yes, good. Okay, break it.
All right.
Yay!
Ooh.
It's good.
Yay.
In 1912, the standard was just so high. Separate people would cut the glass, and different people would paint it, and different people again would glaze it. And they'd do it every day of their life since they were 15. So they died. So they just do it all day, and they just could do it perfectly. The same guy that designed the window would not have been seen dead cutting it. The glass painters had a 5-year apprenticeship, and they had a bit higher status. There's a bit more skill involved. But they didn't like passing the crafts on because then their job security was threatened.
Oh, right.
So especially with glass painting, they would hide away. They wouldn't let the apprentice see how to do it. Let's brush the dust off, and then it's ready to go. Hold it up and see what it looks like. Nice. Yeah, it is. It looks like it's beginning to look like a gourd.
That looks like a pumpkin.
The women depicted on these stained glass windows are the only women allowed in Titanic's first-class gentleman's lounge. The divisions that exist in society at the time are designed into the very structure of Titanic. Gentlemen have their smoking rooms, ladies have their writing rooms, and the classes are kept firmly apart. Most third-class accommodations are crammed into spaces among the ship's many churning machines, clearly segregated from first class. To find out what third class is really like, the team will build family cabin number 155 as part of their Titanic exhibition at the Ulster Museum in Belfast. Both the smoking room and the cabin will be on display before the same community who built the originals. To build their third-class family cabin, the Titanic reconstruction team turns to master carpenter Mark Cass for some expert advice.
We want to look at on both ends of the social spectrum. This is the third-class cabin, okay? It's obviously a bit very plain and simple. Simple panelling, flat panelling. We've got the ceiling's exposed, all the girders and such like the structural components of the ship. You know, no one was worried about keeping those ceilinged off. It was just accepted that you were on a boat, get used to it.
Third-class family cabins are 1/30th the size of first-class suites. Yet up to 9 family members are known to share them.
Complete opposite to what the smoking room said. But saying that, I'll be completely honest, I would think that some of the people that were actually going third class there probably never seen a room like that.
It's not nice.
It's probably quite lucky.
No, with a little basin in there, you know, running water.
Yeah.
Clean for sure, yeah.
Between 1900 and 1910, 8 million people immigrate to the United States. Many on transatlantic liners, looking for work and a new life in the new world. Liners compete for a share in this new market, and Titanic's one-way third-class tickets cost $36, or the equivalent of over $800 today. For that, Titanic's third-class family cabins offer an electric light, a wash basin with running water, and for an extra level of comfort, their steel walls are clad with tongue-and-groove wooden paneling.
These bits that we're cutting out are the joints for the paneling around the third-class cabin. So basically these are all going to sit inside grooves, top and bottom, and then be panelled all the way along. But this is obviously a job that the carpenters had to do day in, day out to get all these joints absolutely right. So You know, I feel like I'm taking all morning to do this one, but they would have been whizzing through. I don't know, there must be tens of these, maybe even...
Yeah, quite a lot of them, yeah.
Compared to other liners, Titanic's third-class passengers enjoy decent amenities. They have a dining room with an all-inclusive third-class menu and an exercise area on the poop deck to take in the sea air. And they even have a general room, complete with piano, to gather around and sing their favorite music hall tunes.
My old man said follow the van, don't dilly-dally on the way.
This is Wilton's in London's East End, a popular music hall in the Victorian era.
With me old cock linnet, and I dillied and dallied, dallied and dillied.
Hello, you must be Rosie.
Hello.
Dave's here to meet theater manager Rosie Mayhew to find out what third-class passengers consider a good night out.
So what was the atmosphere like, Rosie?
The atmosphere would have been incredibly noisy, smoky, hot. People really making a lot of noise because they're drunk.
What sort of acts would have been put on here?
A huge variety. You know, somebody like a rat catcher come on and like bite the head off a rat.
No,
live
you're
on
joking.
Yeah. There was an amazing act, which was a lady who used to start at one end and she would swing all the way across the auditorium with no knickers on. So everybody would be like, you know, breaking their neck trying to catch a glimpse. And music hall was the only thing they had to really like brighten up their lives, so it became such a phenomenon.
The team only has a few more days before they unveil their Titanic interiors at the Ulster Museum in Belfast. The pressure is on.
Okay, stop that too. Right, yeah.
First, the walls for the third-class cabin
Are we in? Is that going?
are put together using hand tools and plenty of stinky Scotch glue.
Okay, we're going to roll it this way and do the other end now. And we've still got a ton to do today. Let's go on, Dave, round that way.
Actually, perfect, fit perfect. Really quite sturdy as well, like.
Meanwhile, the finishing touches for the center section of the first-class smoking room are applied using reproduction furniture techniques.
So this is the pediment, this is the piece which goes on top of the columns, which really caps off the stained glass window. It's rather fantastic. I mean, look at the amazing detail at the top here, and this fine, intricate little leaf pattern as well here. It really caps off this window really beautifully. It's a little bit worrying that the components haven't actually been put together in England before we ship them out to Belfast. So the first time they come together is actually going to be at the museum. So that's something which is making me a little bit worried.
Belfast, Northern Ireland, the city where Titanic is born. After weeks of hard work, the team has 48 hours to assemble their Titanic first-class smoking room and third-class cabin here at the Ulster Museum.
Nice big piece upstairs. Actually, what I'll do is get in here and have a look.
We'll take a whip.
Yeah, you take the weight, I'll just go.
Their exhibit is about to be revealed to the mayor and prominent members of the community. For the team, it's crunch time. Will all of their exhibition pieces fit together?
Yep.
First, they erect the walls of their central section.
On Titanic, there were loads of instances where they were using techniques like this to prefabricate stuff off ship and then disassemble it, bring it onto the ship, and then bring it back together again.
Once the fireplace is in it, it's going to set it right off. That's what you need. Once it's all dressed and the stained glass goes in, I think it'll look really impressive.
Next, they lay the linoleum. Its pattern replicates the tile found in Harlan and Wolff's offices and the color photograph taken from Titanic's wreck site.
My hands are shaking.
It's only glass.
I'm so excited about it.
A key feature of the smoking room wall is the stained glass windows, made by Yewande and artist Emma Blunt using authentic methods.
Try this in for the first time.
Yeah?
Let's hope it fits.
Do you need me to hold it?
It's a really bad start.
What's that? Is it too big?
Too big.
Too big.
That's going to have to be all chiselled, all the way up that, or all the way up that.
Obviously, when time's tight, Gary's going to end up having to chisel this out, which will take time. This is now a classic bottleneck.
Right, who's got a sharp chisel then?
Dave and Luke also have their hands full, trying to assemble the third-class cabin, number 155.
All right. I think the amount of work that's gone into building this third-class cabin is going to be the best cabin that's ever sailed the ocean, because the man-hours on it is unbelievable.
Yeah, OK, good.
OK. Looks of business. Very nice.
In memoria fabrum. It means in memory of the worker. Yeah, it's great.
Now, watch your feet there, you two, in the middle.
That's it. This isn't a stupid question, but is that meant to go in?
First?
Yeah.
It'll... what, behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. We know this fits now.
Yeah, I'm just supporting it.
It took more than a year to outfit Titanic with a level of luxury never seen before.
Fantastic. It's painted, it looks great, it looks like marble, it looks like steel, and that's it. And time's pressing on. We've got guests coming in 1 hour, 2 minutes.
The team applies the finishing touches to their interiors. White Star Line fixtures and linens dress the third-class cabin.
These are lovely.
And an exact copy of the painting that graces Titanic's fireplace by artist Norman Wilkinson is hung prominently, back where it belongs.
Good.
Oh. Before the doors open, the team dons their first-class steward's uniforms, ready to host their prestigious guests.
You look like Richard Gere.
If they insult our work that we spent all day doing, they can get their own drinks.
I'm actually feeling very proud and feeling like we can hold our head up high when we go into to meet the mayor and the rest of the dignitaries.
On March 29, 1912, just 12 days before her maiden voyage, the White Star Line invites Belfast VIPs and journalists to view Titanic's interiors. Today, the team brings them back to life in full color. The guests include key members of the local community.
You can just imagine Captain Smith standing there, leaning against it. It's amazing.
And Belfast Titanic aficionados, dressed to impress.
So grand. The carvings and the way the windows are and everything, it just really does create the illusion. It's so lifelike, you know?
There's a wonderful buzz. People are really, really into the space. It's a very rewarding feeling.
The finished product is really lovely.
Are you proud of it?
Yeah, extreme.
Do you want to try it?
Anybody who would walk in here today and say, look at these chairs, look at the fireplace, look at the building that we've got behind us, you've got to be proud, haven't you?
It's very small, isn't it? But it's no different from like a youth hostel.
I would have thought it would have been more Spartan for a third-class cabin, to be honest. I'm surprised how comparatively nice it actually is.
I think that people are fascinated more with the third-class cabin. It's actually the nitty-gritty that people are interested in. It's the way that their ancestors would have lived.
Do you want to actually go in?
Yeah,
Come on then.
I belong in here.
This is yours, sorry. This is actually their cabin.
It's amazing what has been done, and the amount of work has been just unbelievable. And we have thoroughly enjoyed it, and it has just been awesome.
What we'd hoped to achieve, it's worked. People's reactions genuinely being engaged and beaming, and I'm proud of it, definitely.
I think anybody seeing it will be quite taken with the artisanship and the quality of it. Dubai, eat your heart out. You know, Northern Ireland got there before you.